Hi, welcome back to my video series, Stop Pulling and Basic Leash Techniques. This is back pedal. So back pedal is a moving version of pressure and release. So it's starting to reinforce to the dog pressure and release that we were doing before when it was stationary, or you should have been doing from day one. This begins to reinforce that and begins to help bulletproof it. It's really important, not only this, but the pressure and release right at the start as well. The other great thing about this is on this lead, I'm going to, part of the technique will be calling the dog back to me to help reinforce that release. And so if you've seen my video series on recall, you will see that I start recall with a leash like this. That ensures that the dog is 100% successful and never fails. So what I suggest is that when you do call the dog in this technique, that you use whatever word you're either currently using for recall or plan to use for recall. So it could be something like come or here. I use to me. Use that same word because you're also beginning to teach the dog a basic form of recall right there. Eventually I bring the dog, while I'm walking back, I walk back until the dog's back here behind my leg, and then I walk forward, and that forces the dog to rotate right here on my leg. So it also begins to help teach the dog where a heel position is going to be. So it's a terrific technique. Its main purpose though is pressure and release. I'll do this all stationary because one, he's already been trained in it, and he knows something's up, so he simply won't walk forward and on the lead on me anyway. So, and the advantage is if I do it stationary, I can show you each specific area that I want you to see too. So I'll just set Koji up. So from here we're walking along. Remember, I walk the dog on the left, so for this exercise I'll have this in my right hand. This stays close to your midsection. The further out it is, the weaker you are if the dog pulls, and the easier you are to move off balance. So keep it in close, it makes you stronger. As soon as the lead goes from loose to taut, not tight, as soon as it gets to this point, I'm going to simply stop. I'll call the dog, Koji, good, and I'll walk backwards. The moment he gives me that loose leash, I'll go forwards, and we go forward again. Good. So, same thing, he gets out there, he gets tight or taut. As soon as it gets to that point, I call his name and I give a command to bring him back to me. So, and I backpedal. So I stop, I backpedal, Koji, to me, yes. As soon as he gives me that release, I mark it and I go forward. Alright, so I hope that's nice and clear. I'm not waiting for him to start pulling, because if he already gets to the point that he's pulling, then he's failing, I'm failing, we are failing. So we don't want that. We want the dog to succeed. So as soon as this goes from here to here, I react. And you'll see the dog just reacts when it's very light pressure, because he's been trained in it, and that's what you're looking for. The slightest pressure, you want him reacting. So from here, as soon as it gets to this point, I step back, say his name, and call him. Koji, to me, good. As soon as he releases, I move forward again and off we go. And that's his reward. Alright, so eventually I'm going to bring him closer and closer to me. So I've stopped, I'm going back, Koji, to me. So I'll let him come all the way back here and then I'll go forward. Good. So I'll bring him, once he gets the hang of it, I'll bring him closer and closer back to my legs. Good boy. Alright, so here, Koji, to me. I'll bring him closer and closer, and eventually I'll get him up here beside the leg, and then we'll walk forward. Like that. So we'll begin to rotate him. Yes. So we'll just set up again. So I stop when it gets to this point and I begin to backpedal. As I backpedal, I call the dog. You can see he's already beginning to turn just because that started to go taut. I call him, Koji, to me, yes. Eventually I'll get the dog right back there and then I'll turn. Then I'll start walking and he'll be turning right here at the leg. Alright, so I hope that makes sense. Again, don't let the dog get to the point that it's pulling. As soon as you get to this point that I showed you, this is when you want to begin to stop, move backwards, recall your dog. As soon as he releases to start with, we move off, and eventually we get him closer and closer back to that position. Good boy. Closer and closer back to that position. Eventually we get him coming in behind the leg and moving, and then we move forward to get him rotating right there. Alright, a very simple technique, but it has great benefits. We'll see you next time. Thank you.